Hey guys, thanks for coming out tonight. All right, we've got a good night for you. My name's Jules, and I'm a pain researcher. I'm obsessed with pain. And you can see by the thickness of my glasses. They work as magnifying glasses so I can see in 4K definition the pained look on my husband's face when I give him a massage that's 5 times harder than it should be. Wondering why I give away free massages? It's because I'm so kind and caring, because I'm a nurse. Here's to all the nurses out there. So I work at the Queensland Children's Hospital. And just like everyone else, this little Lego guy is trying to find a car park. I work with kids who are doing it tough. And some of the kids are doing it so tough that my days revolve around needles, blood, and sputum. Sputum. Don't you just love that word? Whenever I say the word sputum, my husband pulls his pained face, which is why I say it often, sputum. Now, when you think of the word sputum, you probably think of chest infections and antibiotics. But I think of little Johnny in bed 12, hacking up his lungs into tiny Kellogg's cornflakes packets. Words bring out different memories for everyone. Actually, I don't have to deal with sputum much these days. I just love the word. Sputum. I'm working with kids who have chronic pain. And this is a type of pain that lasts and lingers for longer. Days, weeks, months, and sometimes even years. And it's really hard for these kids because often it's hard to understand why their pain's persisting. I'm studying whether we can use storytelling to help us better understand the experience of pain. And this is less about the Avengers and watching the Hulk smash people in the face, and more about me and our kids looking at fictional stories to better understand the experience. So, as well as being a pain researcher, I'm a pain nurse. And the other day, I headed into the ward to see little Johnny in bed 12. And I was wearing my usual get-up, starched white dress, hat, cape, signature, red lippy. And as I got in there, there was a young whippersnapper nurse. And luckily, she was taking away Johnny's sputum container. And we'll call her Beyonce, because that's her name. So I knelt down beside Johnny and I said, "Hey Johnny, my name's Jules and I'm a pain nurse." Now, little Johnny's eyes went wide and he screamed and he looked around for his mum. Let's call her Charlene, because that's her name. But Charlene had hightailed it out the door with Karen, Jack's mum from bed 11. They were heading out for a durry. And they were bitching about Beyonce because she made them wear a gown and a mask. All this crap about COVID, Karen, it's a whole load of garbage. Yeah, I'm not taking those vaccinations. Who knows what they put in them things? Yeah, me neither. Yeah, nah. Come on, babe, let's go get a smoke. So, pain nurse. I'm not causing pain like Johnny was worried about, or a pain in the arse like Charlene and Karen. Although my husband may disagree. My job is to help manage pain. And I'm so into pain that I want to make sure I understand it. So, I make sure I have lots of injuries. And these are not photoshopped, unfortunately. So some of my mates say I take my job too seriously, perhaps a little bit too literally. But I'm proud to say it's been over 6 months since my last injury. That is somewhat of a record for me. So I also look after kids with acute pain. And that's a type of pain after surgery. So things like having an accident, maybe falling off your bike or your scooter. Also, I look after kids with chronic pain. And that's things like musculoskeletal pain, headaches, abdo pain, back pain, all pictured here. As you can see, you can't see it. It's a hidden illness. And that's one of the major problems. A lot of our kids get bullied because they don't believe they're in pain. And it's really hard for them and their families. You see, pain is all about protection. It's there to protect us. So, for example, if you were to be riding your bike and you crashed into a bollard after drinking beer and eating chicken palmies, you would hopefully put down your beer and get an x-ray. But sometimes pain can be overprotective, and that's what we see with chronic pain. You can get pain without having any injury or illness. And just like Charlene and Karen, it's very common and annoying. So 1 in 5 kids get chronic pain worldwide, so that's a crazy high number. Now, understanding why pain hangs around is really difficult, and there's a lot of science behind it. And as everyone here knows tonight, science is boring. And we're here to have fun. So I just need you to know that pain is all about, and especially persistent pain, is all about having a sensitised nervous system and the brain. So you can't feel pain without a functioning brain, which is why Charlene and Karen have never had a headache. As you can imagine, when we talk about a sensitised nervous system and pain, it gets pretty confusing for people. And people certainly have got angry at me before. The pain's not all in my head! I've heard that many, many times. And in fact, the language and words we use have different meanings for everyone. So I'm Gen X, which we all know is the coolest generation. But most of the kids I work with are Gen Zs or Gen Alphas. Let's take the word makeover. As you can see, my Gen Alpha nieces clearly have a different meaning for the word. Language and communication are super important in health, and often we don't do it well. One of the common things I hear is kids don't feel listened to or have a chance to tell their story. And research shows that that's correct. There's been studies done where health professionals interrupt patients after just 11 seconds of telling their story. We need to do better, just like these two clowns. For my PhD, I decided to explore the lived experience through a fictional novel. And that involved talking to kids, listening to their stories. I actually asked them what they thought would be important to put in a book. And I'm very excited to say that this book was released last week. And I'm very glad you all cheered, otherwise I was going to get out my hurty massage fingers. Don't think Twilight. That shit's painful. I promise my book is better than Twilight. So, talking about stories and sharing, who here knows any nurses? Put your hands up. You poor buggers. But you should feel really sorry for me, because a lot of my mates are nurses. Except for my husband, who's a diesel fitter. And in a desperate attempt to get away from me and my nursing buddies, is now working FIFO 400 Ks out of Alice. So nurses have lots of stories, and if you've hung out with nurses before, you'll know they're pretty gross stories. And we tend to like to talk about body parts and body fluids, because we like to see people squirt. Now, we use stories a lot with our kids, but you'll be very glad to know we rarely talk about body fluids and body parts. So we use the idea of a smoke alarm. So for pain, for acute pain, we talk about pain being like a smoke alarm. It's there to warn us of danger, like as if a house was on fire. Whereas persistent pain's more like the alarm that goes off in the middle of the night when you can't find a broom. So it's super overprotective, like a helicopter parent, and super annoying, like cling wrap friends. So stories are essential to how we make sense of ourselves and our lives. We all have a job to do. We need to listen to our kids. We need to give them a chance to tell their stories, and we need to believe their stories. Well, maybe not all of them. Pain does not need to be a forever thing. And keep an eye out for my book. As you can see, the front cover was modelled on me. So it should be easy to spot. You'll be able to get it from all good bookshops. Actually, that's a complete lie. You might be able to find it in some crap ones. Or you can get it online or via my website. And if you see Charlene and Karen, tell them to stop telling shit stories and listen to their children. And also to lay off the durries. Thanks everyone, you've been great!